For me, I look at this as, two things in one, right? So we have legacy and we have inclusion, and then you combine the two, right? So when I look at inclusion, right, I think of, um, racial background. I think of cultural background. I think of gender background. When we look at society as a whole, if we go back in history, right, most society has always been inclusive, right? And then we come forward, and probably in the last 500, 600 years, things starts to break down, right? Where, it's no longer inclusive. We start to put people in boxes and categories, right? And so it wasn't always that way, right? It wasn't always that way. You had societies where it didn't matter if the person looked red, if they looked black, if they looked white, if they looked yellow, green, it just didn't matter. No one thought about that. No one looked at you and said, hey, wait a minute, you look different than me. Like, that's just how it was, folks, right? Let's be real, right? And then, as I said, maybe 500, 600 years ago, somewhere around there, things just start to change, and change because of greed, change because of money, right? That's why societies became, less inclusive, right? Because if you can put people in categories, if you can put people in boxes, you can carve out a niche for yourself whereby you can create a problem and then present a solution and you make billions of dollars. It really is that simple. And so as I look at OnPassive and I see a company that takes all of that away, no greed, right? No idea about trying to focus just on self, right? But looking to say, you know what? We can look at the globe as one. It's one human race. It's one group of people. Yes, we have different cultural backgrounds. That's perfectly fine. Yes, we've got male and female and all of that. That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, though, we are one human race. And so the company look at it from that perspective and says, we can include the globe. We can include every single person on this planet in our business. This is why the concept of uplifting humanity, it didn't say, well, let's uplift this culture or that culture, right? It didn't say any of that. Or that so-called race or that so-called race. Didn't say any of that. Let's uplift humanity, right? All of us, right? But inclusion has to start with the leadership. It has to start at the top. You can't start from the bottom with inclusion. It has to come from the top where the vision, the mission, all of that is put out there, right? And then it trickles downward. So as we see our CEO, Mr. Ash Mufari, comes and he interacts with us, right? And he's always down to earth and he's your friend. He's coming on as your friend. He's not coming on as your boss. He's not coming on as your CEO. He's not coming on as someone that's higher than you, better than you, none of that stuff. He comes on as your friend, right? And so that type of mindset, right? That type of mindset is now driven throughout OnPassive, throughout the foundership, throughout the ecosystem, right? Including the staff. By having people from a diverse background, what that does, it brings more ideas to the table than less. You see, because you may be from Australia and you have some ideas, and I may be from Canada and I have different ideas, and we bring these ideas together, and guess what? Everyone flourishes. When you give people the tools, give them the resources, people will flourish. A lot of times it's about access. You may have someone that's very talented, but they don't have access. They don't have the resources. They don't have the tools to make it happen. And this is what OnPassive is doing. OnPassive says, hey, we will do all the hard work. We will do all the heavy lifting, because you may not have the talent. You may not have the resources. You may not have the finances, right, that can put all of this together, because this is a big deal. This is a massive business. Where do you get the millions of dollars that is needed to go make this happen for everyone around the globe? So you may not have that, but guess what? You are included. Your voice matters, right? And as Marty talked about, seeing people grow since they've been involved in OnPassive, right? Doing their own lives and webinars and all these things that they've never done before, right? That's having a positive impact. That's giving people access. That's giving them a voice. So what they have to say matters. And that is going to leave now a legacy, right? Because when we talk about legacy, now we're talking about the future. We're talking about next generation. We're talking about a family dynasty, generational wealth. All these things is what we're talking about. Lasting impression, right? What are you going to leave behind in society? Will people know that you existed? Will people know that, yeah, you were here? You made a difference, a positive difference. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about legacy. So when you combine those two things, especially from a business standpoint, you cannot do anything else but succeed, because you're putting all the right elements together, so that it doesn't matter whether you're in Japan, it doesn't matter if you're in Cameroon, it doesn't matter if you're in France, it just doesn't matter where you're from. Your culture doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your religious background is. It doesn't matter if you're technical savvy or not. This is what we're talking about when we talk about inclusion, folks. We're bringing everyone together, because there's lots of great minds in all parts of the world. Every society contributed to this planet. Every society. Whether we're talking about African society, European society, Asian society, it doesn't matter. If you go back and check the real historical facts, you will find out that there are great developments in science and math and so on from all parts of the world. So that tells me that every single person on this planet matters. They have something to contribute. So if you form a business that brings all of this together, you can't do anything but succeed. That's just how that works, folks. And that's what OnPassive is all about. And that's why we are here in OnPassive. That's why we are excited about this company, because we know if you have this mixed together, everyone, every single person is going to win. How can you beat a business where everyone wins? Not a business where 90% wins or 70% wins or 99%. We're talking about every single person will win being OnPassive. And that's what legacy of inclusion is all about. That's what it's all about. And that's how we go out there and impact people's lives and make a difference, so that when you are now gone, your legacy continues. Mr. Ashmafar's legacy will continue for generations to come. And every single one of us who are here as early bird adapters, the same thing is applicable. The same thing, right? Our positive impact that we have done through, Marty talked about Chris, and there's that one act of kindness, just that one act of kindness will leave a lasting impression in those children's lives. You see how simple that is, folks? So it's not necessarily about you coming to the table and bringing millions of dollars. And sometimes it's just the one simple thing that you've done for someone. Sometimes it's just that smile that you put on somebody's face, and now that person goes through their day. Maybe they were thinking of committing suicide as an example. Maybe they were thinking of, committing a crime or whatever. But just because of that one random act of kindness, that person's mindset now changed for the better, and they go on to do bigger and great things. I'm telling you, put the right tools in people's hands. Marty talked about targeted traffic. That's a tool, okay? It's a tool, it's a product. You put that in people's hands, they will succeed with it, because in time past, they never had it. They don't know how to get it, right? It's something that was elusive for them. All of a sudden, now you give it to them. It's like, oh, wait, okay, I got this. This is good. I have an endless supply of visitors to see whatever it is that I'm offering, an endless supply of potential customers that will purchase the products that I'm offering. It's so simple, folks. It is so simple. OnPassive is connecting all the dots, but yes, it takes time. Yes, you have to assemble the right people. And sometimes you don't have the right people around you. You may think you do, because even in your personal lives, you may have some friends that you thought were friends. And when the rubber hit the road, you're like, wait a minute, where all my friends go? I can't have no one to turn to. Who's there to help me, right? OnPassive is all about inclusion, folks. And we're going to make a difference as we move forward into our next phase.